webinar all through the day. I can only echo what Baba said. It's truly heartwarming to see the enthusiasm both in government and in industry to really make this happen. We've been talking about manufacturing for long. Governments for many years have tried to bring the focus back to Make in India or manufacture in India. But this particular effort initiated by Prime Minister Modi to Make in India for the world truly will be the pillar on which India's economic growth and the well-being of 1 billion plus people will rest. I'm actually very grateful that Prime Minister took out time, despite all the problems the world is presenting today. And for him, in the midst of so many important issues, to spare time for our post-budget webinar and enlightening us with some very interesting thoughts was a great beginning. Amitabh Kant, as usual, was very insightful, and certainly the three panels make us proud. Very, very high quality discussions, very good outcomes as were presented to me today. Of course, I'm personally grateful to the secretaries who are still on the call. We have you, Anuragji, Mr. Subramaniam, and Textiles Secretary. And we also have Secretary MSME, Mr. Swain, and Secretary Heavy Industry, Mr. Arun Goyal. I want to recognize and acknowledge that, particularly for Arun and Mr. Swain, that they have stayed on. And I'm saying this publicly because while it may look like we don't have enough time to spare all through the day and all, but I would have thought that with the kind of effort everybody is putting in, the concluding session would have been nice for everybody to know, because actionable agenda has come out of it. But I do hope you will convey to everybody, all the other departments, the various good ideas that have come out from today's session. Similarly, I'm grateful to all those from industry who have spared their time, and particularly again those who have stayed through the day. And I have before me the names of all of those participants from industry who actually spent either the whole day or a significant portion of the day on this such long amount of time on this conference. In fact, if I may start with the recent speech of a leader of a big superpower, you almost find similarities in the economic vision of the developed countries and large economies with Prime Minister Modi's ongoing efforts to promote manufacturing and make India self-sufficient. Today, other countries are also talking of programs very similar to Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I think there can be no better endorsement of the importance and the success of this vision than the fact that the world today wants to emulate the India story. In fact, of late, there's also a great recognition in India to start demanding practical solutions to their problems. And that is what I like most about today's discussions. Most of the suggestions that came out were pretty much very, very doable, very much relevant to the subject at hand. And all three breakout sessions will impact the future of job creation, Atmanirbhar Bharat, promote manufacturing and exports, and give a renewed thrust to the MSME sector. I'm very grateful also to the states for their active participation. I think that's another feature which shows that this is a whole of the government approach that we are working on. And I think if we sustain this momentum, we saw this over the last many years, but last 2 years of COVID have clearly laid out the importance of this program. And if we can sustain this momentum, synergize our collective efforts on all the various themes that the distinguished speakers spoke about, many focus on quality, many focus on technology development and technology transfer, investment in R&D, sustainability, harmonization of regulations. These are all very much practical, doable ideas and the need of the hour. And I'm sure we can all work together towards this end. Incidentally, Baba Kalyani was mentioning, not Baba, I think Sumita ji or Anurag ji was mentioning that MSME, there were many, many more suggestions and you could not complete the 80 odd ideas. I don't mind if we have to do a separate session for MSMEs, considering the very important role they play and the importance in job creation and as ancillaries to the large companies which wouldn't be able to do anything without MSMEs. I'll be happy if MSME and DPIIT collectively, along with the major MSME organizations, can spend a day focused on the problems and ideas around a better ecosystem for MSMEs. So I would recommend that we may plan that out also. It could even be on a weekend so that people can really spend more time and focus on the subject within the government. So it's a challenge to all our participants, particularly from the textile sector. There was a suggestion about R&D in the medical devices sector. That is also something you may like to discuss with Pharma Secretary, how we can actionate that particular suggestion. Of course, as Baba said, we want to become the manufacturing hub of drones. And we are looking at more and more liberal regulatory regime on drones, other than the defense systems, technology. How we can integrate tech and the talent that we have both in NIFT faculty and in NIFT alumni. Can we leverage the alumni of NIFT to become skilled trainers? Can we use hybrid mode to expand our training or at our welcome? I would also urge all of you, most of the people on this call are people who went through education 30 odd years ago. Can we ask our HR teams or our technical teams in industry to try and make an assessment how relevant the courses that are being taught in our engineering or management or chartered accountancy and other programs are to the needs of today? Very often, demand of time is moving very fast. Changes in curriculum moves much slowly. Of course, there are a lot of problems. You can't change curriculum overnight. But I think more relevant contemporary education is equally important to the success of the various ideas that were discussed today. So more academic courses relevant to what you require. And for that, we'll need to do some research on what is being taught today and how contemporary that is. We are working on Make in India and Brand India. Hopefully, that should make good progress soon. Mr. Jain is leading these two initiatives actively. I'm very keen that quality should be integrated in the full value chain and should not just be looked at the final product level. I have also been often talking about Indian companies supporting each other. In Korea, Japan, look at the nationalist spirit that there. Can Indian companies support Indian manufactured goods a little more? It's an appeal that I'm making to all of you. A lot has been said about the national single window. I keep seeing the numbers. They're pretty good. They're impressive, growing. But really, that needs to grow really significantly, big time. And I would urge all the participants to spread the word that wherever possible, including those from the government, that wherever you can integrate with national single window and push your ecosystem towards using the national single window so that it becomes, the validation process can be completed. New ideas can come in what we need to integrate into NSWS, and it truly can become a powerful tool towards what was suggested, the single window or self-certification or self-regulation, which I think Ashokji was mentioning towards the end. Of course, we'll have to see, Ashokji, your idea of Rajasthan that, Mr. Vinod Kumar was mentioning. Vinodji, the idea of like Rajasthan, that 2 years you don't need any registration, is also fraught with risk.
Very correct, sir.
Frauds can be carried out. Some accident takes place and there's no validation of fire safety or building safety and all of that. So one will have to calibrate this.
Yes, very correct.
With some self-certification or third-party certification and stuff like that. We are on our part looking at bold reforms. PLI scheme is one such reform. We've liberalized FDI in a big way. Compliance burden and decriminalization of laws, as I said in the morning. We are seeking more ideas from all of you. PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, the Prime Minister has announced in the previous webinar on Gati Shakti that he hopes to see private sector also benefit from it. Anuragji, you may like to see how we can create the infrastructure or the way forward for that. It'll have to be in a sanitized atmosphere because a lot of sensitive data is on PM Gati Shakti. Can't be literally put on public domain. But I am convinced PM Gati Shakti is a game changer, which one day will be adopted by the whole world. Just like UPI was a game changer in fintech. And now more and more countries around the world are trying to emulate that model. Ideas like startup, export promotion council, ideas like giving self-reliance in telecom more focus. We on our part are trying to change the rules of the game on pharma.
What happened?
सर आई थिंक आपका म्यूट हो गया है, अनम्यूट करना
Disconnected,
पड़ेगा.
huh?
एनआईसी वालों को भी बोलो.
Rajput. We are reconnecting from the end of the Honorable Minister. Couple of minutes, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Anurag ji?
Ji sir, sorry for the glitch sir. Now we can hear you loud and clear sir.
You're muted.
Sir, I said we can hear you loud and clear sir. Can you hear me
Vinod,
now?
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
सर आप शायद नहीं सुन पा रहे हैं हम लोगों की बातें.
Okay. So, well, I think this is a good signal. We've actually had an 8-hour call. So, the signal to us that we should look at winding up. And Prime Minister rightly said we have to talk less and listen to you more. I've heard all of you. I'll just conclude by suggesting that let's all keep engaged. Let's talk to each other often. Let's look at a 5-point vision for manufacturing and promoting exports. One, how can we really take our manufacturing contribution to the GDP to 25%? So, and in that, maximize our own contribution to resilient global supply chains. Two, can we increase our global trade to 10% of the size of our economy and our share of exports in GDP to about 25% of the size of the GDP. These are ambitious targets, but I think doable. Three, can we look at being one of the top 3 nations in services exports? Again, eminently doable given our strengths, particularly in IT. 4, can we look at supporting MSMEs to increase their participation in foreign trade? 5, can we create 10 R&D labs or innovation centers to position ourselves as a leader in technology? Create 10 a roadmap for the next 25 years, the Amrit Kal, as we proceed towards India at 100. Let all of us become job creators. Let all of us work towards strengthening India's manufacturing ecosystem in a collaborative approach. Let's all of us make India Atmanirbhar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So with this, we come to the close. But before that, I would like to thank all of those who have really helped us come out with this kind of a brain stimulating exercise and in today's webinar. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Prime Minister.
You are muted. Anurag ji, you are muted.
Isko वापस ठीक. Hello, can you hear?
Anurag, we can hear.
Sir, now we
If the
come to
others
the
can
end.
hear him, please nod so he can continue.
Yeah, we can hear.
मंत्री जी के लेवल पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. We can hear you.
तो मंत्री जी क्या बता दो कि उन्हीं क्या प्रॉब्लम है. Rest people can hear. So with this we come to the end of the webinar today, and I take this opportunity to thank all of those who have contributed to make this webinar a huge success. First of all, I begin with thanking our Honorable Prime Minister who gave this idea And as Honorable Minister mentioned, in spite of all the problems these days, he took out time to guide us. Then I thank the Honorable CIM who actually spent a lot of time and really went through the whole notes also and spent a lot of time listening to the ideas. And he has noted very key ideas and give us guidance to take those ideas forward. I thank Mr. Baba Kalyani, Mr. Veer Radvani, and Mr. Vinod Kumar, especially for moderating the three major